Hiya. So Mike and I have had conversations about wanting to do like different things on this channel, in terms of like he and I sitting down and just like having conversations or talking about certain aspects of what we're doing out here, and for a number of reasons that hasn't happened, but I'm feeling inspired this morning to just switch on the camera and see what happens sort of along that direction of things. And we just like sharing the journey and talking about what we're doing out here, and we're doing more than physically living differently, although that is a big thing we're doing out here, intentionally living more simply and with less money on purpose, so that we can put our time and energy and hearts into the spiritual dimension of our life and in community building. So we've been out here now just over 4 years, and we live off grid and without running water. When we bought this 24-acre parcel, we bought bare land, no structures and no services, and we lived in our 1989 Chevy van while we built our small cabin, which is around 225 square feet, I think. And we just wonderfully had our 4th annual camping retreat weekend last weekend here at Empty Mountain. At our peak, what do we have? 12 of us here, but for most of the weekend we had closer to eight of us here. And I'm up here in Morning Sun Meadow right now under our canopy setup. This is where we had our program space and where we did morning meditation and our group circles and things of that sort. And we made the decision this year, because at the time when we checked the weather, it said 0% chance of rain. We made the choice to not put up our gigantic canvas tent, which we bought specifically for our camping retreat weekends in case of rain, because we don't have any indoor group space yet. And so that felt like a good option. We found a used tent on Craigslist a couple years ago, and it's a beast. It's a lot of work to put up, because then we also have to tarp it. It came with a gigantic tarp, because the canvas of the tent isn't waterproof. So when it rains, it leaks like a sieve. So you have to cover the whole tent also with a tarp, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. We knew what we were getting into when we bought it. The guy was very upfront about that we got it from. But we're like, oh, there's 0% chance of rain. We haven't had rain in like 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks. And we were like, I think we'll be good without it. And then as the time got closer to the retreat happening, then there was all sorts of rain as a possibility, specifically on like each of the days of our retreat. And it's only a weekend, so we're like, oh, of course. So we got creative and rigged up a tarp over this sun sail. This is usually our program area anyway for days of mindfulness and retreats. But the sun sail is just permeable. If it rains, it just comes right through. It's not designed for rain, it's designed for sunshade. So we tarped the sun sail, and that worked really well, because we did have some rain and over last weekend, which was great, because we need it here. We're in fire season. We've had some really smoky days and high fire alert days, and we're still in stage 2 fire restrictions here in our neck of the woods, which means like no campfires, no using like internal combustion engine things like chainsaws and things like that, no generators, between like 1 p.m. and 1 a.m., something like that. And like no off-roading with ATVs, you know, stuff like that. So we're just a tinderbox right now. So the rain is good for us. And we did get a dousting last Friday. Today's Saturday, August 20 something second maybe. And last Friday, on the arrival day of our retreat, we got a huge, quick, heavy rainstorm that also came with hail, big hail. So, and that was both things. It was both really good to have the rain, and also like it was right at our arrival time for our retreat. So I was really stressed out by that. For people arriving, and like a lot of our stuff got wet and super dirty because like the ground is so dry that it just, as soon as the rain came down hard, it like kicked up all this dirt and made all the tables and the chairs that we were using just like full of dirt. And so I had to clean everything again. And anyway, you know, life, it's all part of life. Nothing is separate. So anyway, we're out here in the woods to live differently, and also to gather people together in community, and specifically in spiritual practice community. And our weekend retreat for me was just like, you know, such a culmination of just like, for me, a big part of the reason why, you know, we're out here doing what we're doing, which is to bring people together and have like these intimate groups and circles where people can really share and listen and be together, and not just in the sort of regular surfacey, small talky ways, you know, that are prevalent in the world, and so to really connect with people from our hearts. And it was just such a nourishing time to be together with others. And amazingly and wonderfully, we had like 3 people come from out of state, and so it was just such a gift to have them come all this way. They had long drives to get here, and be part of this, what we're doing out here. So you know, our vision does include building an indoor group space, hopefully within the next couple of years, so that we can extend our season of offerings out here, so that we're not just, you know, summer based, because that season here is very short in Montana. And yeah, being able to have the community of trees, the Sangha of trees, be a big part of being a place of refuge and healing and gathering here. Just we feel very fortunate to be here and to offer what we can as we're able in terms of group gatherings out here. So I'm going to show you around here a little bit of our makeshift space. These are just tarps, and I did cover these with blankets for during our retreat, for a few reasons. One, it's functionally, it's less crinkly when we're all sitting and getting settled. Also, it just looks nicer. It's aesthetically pleasing, it's homey, it's more cozy and warm feeling with the blankets that I put out. So, and that's important. Like, space matters. Like what we do in our space, and the feel of it, and the energetics, and like how it supports the activities in that space, like it matters. And so, you know, we're really blending and balancing, being on a really low budget and using what we have on hand. And you know, we're very much a work in progress, so we have a lot of building materials around and projects in process. And anyway, so it's kind of, we're doing both things. We're like, it's like industrial meets, you know, aesthetically pleasing. I don't know what it's called. I don't have a pithy explanation for it yet. But we cover these with blankets. And then as you can see, so this is our sun sail, and we actually have this post that we put up in the middle to make, to raise this up a little bit so that people can walk underneath it a little more. And there's where our earth altar is and was. It's been decommissioned a little bit. There were lovely flowers and some other things on it during that retreat. Feeling called to mention that this 3D printed wolf whistle was gifted to me by one of my favorite people, an 8-year-old named Remy. Thank you, Remy. So when we designed this, we were like, well, it might look a little funny, but it'll be functionally useful and helpful, and that's what really matters. So as you can see, we rigged up this larger tarp, and we've just got it tied and tethered off. And this actually was a part of a much larger tarp that we felt willing to sacrifice for the for the purpose of this. And we wound up rolling up the sides. There's some wood in here, and it's just kind of mostly friction held, but we also have some clamps in there. So here's our space that we met under, and it did stay nice and dry. That was the hope and the dream, so it worked. And we're thinking that ultimately this might be a better setup even in the future, more than our big, huge canvas tent, until we get indoor group space built. And that maybe we'll buy a couple of like waterproof canvases to put down, and maybe also put over this next year. So maybe we'll upgrade this system versus trying to put up the big canvas tent. Because the other thing about that big canvas tent is that there's some parts and pieces that aren't quite right for it. There's also a new hole in it, and it's a lot of work. And ultimately, I'm not sure we'll get a whole lot of use out of that. Which happens sometimes. Sometimes you think you're going to use something and then you're like, actually, maybe not so much. So we'll see what happens. But this worked very nicely. It was a nice spot to come up and be together. Fit us all well. We've covered this before, but we did put a new loo up here specifically for our events and retreat this year. So now there's a new Humanor composting toilet loo up here, and that came in really handy, so that was nice. So as you can see, today is pretty cloudy. It just we just had a little sprinkle of rain, just a little bit, and I can hear the power lines crackling, as often they do in weather events. Sometimes just humidity. I don't have it all worked out about when they are vocal. As you can see them up there. Once again, I do enjoy the irony of living under high-flying power lines, and we are off-grid. I don't know if we've covered this or not, but we have new neighbors. We share a property line, a border with them. And they've been having a crew build their house for the last 1.5 years or so. Small crew has been up here. Yeah, our neighbors just moved in maybe a month ago now. And they plan to be full-time residents up here. So it'll just be us and them and one other guy that lives like 1.5 miles down the canyon. We're the only people that live up here year-round. And there's only like 6 other dwellings up here, and those are all vacation places, second homes, or still in the process of being built and no one lives in them. So we don't have a whole lot of population in this canyon. So it's interesting to have neighbors. We can't see them. We can hear them. Not uncommonly when they're outside and just talking, which honestly isn't my favorite thing. Gotten pretty used to living in the quiet woods, but also aware that, you know, these aren't our woods. They're everyone's woods. And I hope that they enjoy it out here, our new neighbors. But it's kind of funny with how much space and trees and everything around here. It's kind of like when you go into an empty movie theater and you sit down and then one other person comes in and they sit like right next to you when like every other seat is open. It kind of feels like that. Those are surrounded by thousands of acres of national forest. And just a little bit of private land. But anyway, we got to meet them. They're lovely. So now we have neighbors. See how that continues to go and flow up here. But gosh, we're really happy up here living where we do and how we are. And they actually brought up power. So there is electricity now right across the street of our gravel road. They had to bring it up from quite a ways. And it's expensive. And we have not bought into it. And we don't plan to. But it's nice to know it's there if in the future we change our mind, you know, or we grow and we get more people that want to be out here as part of our mindfulness practice community. You know, it's an option anyway. An expensive one, but it's an option, which is good to know. So it is now close by and not just high flying overhead. Anyway, it's a lovely Saturday morning here in the woods. And yeah, just a little bit about, you know, the journey. Our journey out here. As always, thanks for tuning in.